homeless orphan feeds a dying old woman every day and saved her, unaware she's a billionaire's mother. The boy's feet were blistered from walking, his stomach hollow from hunger, yet every evening he clutched a small paper bag with scraps he'd begged from the market. Down an alley behind the church, on a wooden crate, sat the frail old woman. Her hair was silver, her hands trembling, her eyes dim with exhaustion. "Here," the boy said softly, placing the bread into her palms. "I saved this for you." She looked at him with watery eyes, her voice barely more than a whisper. "But child—" "You have nothing yourself," he shrugged, forcing a crooked smile. "I know what it feels like to go hungry. I won't let you feel that too." Night after night he returned, sharing what little he found. He never asked her name, never questioned why she sat alone in the cold. He only knew she needed him. And though his own ribs showed beneath his shirt, he fed her first. One evening, as the snow began to fall, the old woman's hand caught his wrist, her grip surprisingly strong. She studied his face, tears welling. "Do you know who I am, child?" He shook his head, confused. Her lips trembled with a secret she had carried in silence. "I am not just an old beggar. I am the mother of the city's richest man, and you've given me what all his money never could." The boy froze, the bag of bread slipping from his hands. In a single breath, the world he thought he knew was about to be turned upside down. The boy blinked, certain he'd misheard. "Mother of a rich man?" he asked, his voice small, uncertain. The old woman nodded, her frail body shaking with emotion. "Yes, my son built empires, but in his climb he left me behind. He thought wealth would fill the emptiness, but he never understood what true hunger feels like. Here." She pressed a trembling hand to her chest. He lowered himself onto the crate beside her, confusion written across his face. "But why are you here, then?" "Alone? Hungry?" Her eyes glistened. "Because money cannot buy love. I left his mansion, hoping he would remember I was more than a shadow in his success. Instead, I became invisible until you—" The boy's throat tightened. He thought of nights he had curled up beneath the bridge, stomach gnawing, heart aching for someone to see him. And now this woman, someone who had everything, felt the same. "You kept me alive," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Not just with food, but with kindness. Something no fortune has ever given me." The boy looked down at his scraped hands, then back at her. "I didn't do anything special." "Yes, you did," she said firmly, surprising him with her strength. "You saw me, and now I will make sure no one ever overlooks you again." Before he could answer, headlights swept the alley. A sleek black car pulled up, and men in suits rushed out, their eyes wide as they spotted the old woman. "Madam, we've been searching for you everywhere." The boy stood frozen, watching as they helped her up with trembling respect. She held tight to his arm and looked at him with a faint smile. "Come with me, child. Tonight your life changes." And as the car door opened, the orphan who had once fed her scraps realized he was stepping into a world where scraps would never be his story again. The ride was silent except for the hum of the engine. The boy sat stiff in the leather seat, his bare feet tucked under him, afraid he might dirty the floor. Across from him, the old woman watched with eyes that seemed clearer now, her hand resting gently over his. When the car stopped at a towering estate, gates swung open to reveal gardens wrapped in lights and a mansion glittering against the night. Servants rushed out, bowing as they helped her, their gasps echoing. "Madame, you've returned." The boy shrank back, overwhelmed by marble steps and golden doors. "I don't belong here," he whispered. But the old woman turned sharply, her frail voice carrying weight. "You belong more than anyone. Without you, I would not be alive to walk through these doors." Inside, warmth flooded the grand hall. Chandeliers, portraits, the smell of food, rich enough to make his empty stomach twist. The boy's eyes darted to every corner, but he stood still, afraid to touch. Then the double doors opened, and a man strode in, tall, sharp in a tailored suit, power radiating from his every step. The billionaire. His gaze landed on his mother, and for the first time in years, the hardness in his face broke.
"Mother,"
he breathed, rushing forward. She raised a hand before he could embrace her. "Not yet. First, you will meet the boy who gave me what you never did." She pulled the orphan forward. "This child with nothing in his pockets fed me with scraps, while you, with all your fortune, let me starve of love." The billionaire's chest heaved, his eyes narrowing on the small figure before him. The boy trembled, ready for rejection, but the old woman's grip on his hand held firm.
"This boy saved me," she said, her voice steady.
"And because of that, he is now part of this family." The hall fell silent, the words hanging heavier than the gold on the walls. The billionaire stared at the boy, and for the first time, he wasn't sure if he was meeting a stranger or a destiny that would change them both. The billionaire's jaw tightened, his eyes flicking between his mother's frail figure and the boy's thin frame. "Mother," he said carefully, "you can't mean—"
"He belongs here?"
Her voice cut through the hall like steel. "I mean exactly that. This boy gave me life when all your riches could not."
"If you turn him away, you turn me away as well." Servants froze, the weight of her words hanging in the air.
The boy lowered his head, his heart pounding so hard he thought it might burst. He wanted to run back to the alleys, to the familiar cold, rather than stand in a palace where he clearly didn't fit. But then the old woman's hand tightened around his. "Lift your chin, child. You've done nothing wrong." Slowly he obeyed, his wide eyes meeting the billionaire's. And in that unflinching gaze, the powerful man saw something he hadn't expected: courage. A raw, innocent courage born not of privilege, but of survival. The billionaire's throat worked as he turned back to his mother. "Why didn't you tell me you left?" Her eyes softened with pain. "Because you wouldn't have listened. You were too blinded by building an empire. I needed you to remember that love, not money, keeps us alive."
"And now, thanks to him, you finally see." The silence stretched, broken only by the boy's ragged breathing.
Finally, the billionaire stepped forward. He crouched down until his eyes were level with the child's. "You fed my mother when I did not," he said, quietly. "For that, I owe you more than I can ever repay." The boy shook his head quickly.
"I don't want anything, sir. I just—"
"Didn't want her to be hungry." The billionaire's lips pressed into a line, something breaking in him. He reached out, resting a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Then from this night on, you'll never be hungry again." Tears blurred the boy's vision, his chest aching with a feeling he had almost forgotten. Hope. And as the old woman smiled through her own tears, the mansion seemed to glow brighter, not from the chandeliers above, but from the truth finally spoken. Sometimes the poorest hand holds the richest heart.